Hi, Adam from After This Recording here with some brief pre-episode info and scheduling notes. What you're about to hear is the first part of a marathon, nearly 12-hour recording session we punks did to give Nightfall the send-off it deserves. During that, we identified a few good potential stopping points where the episode could be split up if needed, since editing 12-ish hours of four people's audio is a task that it's hard to predict the duration of. And it's good we did, because despite planning ahead, life has prevented Joanne and I from getting the whole thing ready for airtime by the day it goes live, September 1st. That said, I want to avoid making our wonderful listeners wait a whole half a month to hear the rest, if I'm at all able. So here's the plan. The first part is for you to enjoy right this instant. The next part will go up as soon as it's ready, and we'll be putting these finale episodes combined Dice Peaks after show in the main feed for all to enjoy. After that, for September 15th, we'll be posting a retrospective episode covering the whole campaign. October 1st and 15th will be our triumphant return to Extreme Meat Punks Forever, GM'd by Drew. And we'll have something special for you on Halloween. Finally, Dez's Unknown Armies miniseries will begin airing on November 15th, and our next full campaign, Hardwired Island, will begin after that. Okay, enough scheduling. On with the beginning of the finale of Nightfall. Hello and welcome to Dice Punks, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week in episode 54, in the finale to Nightfall's campaign, our Nobilis will put an end to the war between gods, one way or another. Hello and welcome. I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me are...
Hi, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Leorian Cathar, musician vi day, vi jarl vi night, revelry and tempo all the while.
Hi, I'm Robin, and I'll be playing Lissa Crate, who is fury in the streets, but delirium in the sheets.
I'm Dez, and murder. Also darkness and truth, but let's be clear about what's really the operative thing today.
Priorities are important right now. Robin made me honk just now.
Yeah, that was very good.
I was aiming for a TKO.
I genuinely thought you all had coordinated those like ahead of time. They worked out really well.
It really did.
Thank you. This is the time at which we handle character stat growth and recaps and stuff. So let's start off with Romnet's bonus XP roll for the last time.
Pair of twos.
All right. This experience point is spiny and wet with salt water, invertebrate with an upsetting mouth on the bottom side.
So it's a lamprey.
Oh, I was thinking a sea urchin. Delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, I hate sea urchin.
And so this is potentially our last moment for XP expenditure, unless something comes up during play that allows for it. This will be the last chance you have to use those up.
The only reasonable thing I can do is take something where I have no dice, no points, and put it to 1. And I can't decide what would be the funniest at this stage. Strategy? Healing?
Healing.
Lore? Healing is probably the funniest, so I put 1 point in healing.
All right.
I'm going to take my 1 point and put it in direction. But wait, there is more. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take... with a profound apology to myself, aka Lissa, I'm going to take those 2 divine experience points that I've been hanging on to and put them into madness.
Yeah, so I believe that brings you to 5 domain in Fury, 2 domain in Madness, and 3 domain in... Oh, you don't have Dark at the moment. That's right.
No.
I believe that's probably our entire XP expenditure stopover. So now it is time for Leorian to recap our previous episode. Take it away.
It is at that. We have, for some time now, been obviously and rapidly approaching the end of things. Just how many things we're at the end of remains to be seen. It could yet be comprehensive. But we arrived back in Bor and found that the party we'd attended did not merely feel like it had taken 3 weeks, it had in fact. We found Imbi drawing. Dask had sunk through the bed we'd left him in at Rowena and Urian's inn. And still we could not reach Vruta. So we made our way to the heart of the chancel, and there we found Vruta and Dask both, as well as Truth, if that was his real name, charred from the inside out. Vruta, thankfully, had not been charred, any which way, but had all of his faculties slowed to an impossible pace, impossibly slow, that is. This was to keep him safe, after Truth had failed to kill him. Romnet murdered Vruta's murder, his murderer already having been killed by what were technically non-murder means. Then Romnet saw a vision. He received a prayer from Creus' Tyr, of all people, the Hawk of Theret himself, finding religion in his ever-advancing age. If anyone could do that for him, in particular, it would be Romnet. There were Diamok ships arriving in Theret, it seems. Apatia told us that the journey had been difficult. Oh no, Remolus. And that a storm was gathering. Oh no, Philia. We were able to reunite Imbi with her mother, Lissa's notion, and a very good one. I prayed to the deep. This was after we arrived in Theret, understand, and found that Celiand had eaten and become it. The time for making common cause, she said, had passed, and I hate to agree with her about anything, but... Lissa prayed to Remolus as well, and he responded only furious, beautiful. And Romnet, for his part, had called to Tohil, who arrived with Puff. Tohil negotiated to have the deep earth overtake the deep and to make a murder of it. And Romnet also got Creus, his newly zealous adherent, to bar journeys from arriving in the city. And then we heard Eka, demigod of confession, and found that he and Sertha was alive. And he said we would gladly repay information with assistance at this point.
And yeah, the tail end of receiving that prayer is exactly where we pick up, on the streets of Theret, just above the harbor. And, you know, with Lissa having received that prayer from Eka, the sort of allies all assembling in that spot. So feel free to take it away.
Hi, Eka. We have a bad suspicion about what's going on with Sirtha, since Celiand seems to be taking over other gods at this point. The main concern is, and I gesture frantically at Romnet, having said all of this out loud abruptly. The main concern is, how do we know you're not currently serving her? She is, after all, betrayal.
There is a pause, and Eka replies, well, if Sirtha had been killed, I would also be dead?
I would like to do a divination of truth, inquiring whether Sirtha still is. That is to say,
the deep still is as well, in order for
right. Is
it
it true that Sirtha still is?
Right.
Not the cosmos. Yeah.
So that's going to be a level 2 lesser divination of truth, which is within your means to do with your current domain in truth. And with a simple question like that, if Cirtha still is, yes, Cirtha still is.
I will follow it up with, is Cirtha distinct? Is it true that Cirtha is distinct from Celiand? I have had way too many years thinking of statements in truths.
Yeah.
And now I can bring them to bear.
The information from that second question is that yes, Cirtha is distinct from Celiand.
I will relay both parts of this.
So it seems like Cirtha may just be diminished for now. I had a vision a while ago of Celiand eating a moon and made assumptions. If you... So let me go back to that statement about you being dead. I'm currently under a new imperator. It's possible for a god to die and not have the Nobilis die. So if you're interested in working for a new employer, get in touch. However, for now, we can just use allies, as we are about to oust Celiand and therefore probably serve some of Cirtha's benefit as well, since that seems to have been a point of contention between Ventis and Celiand.
Let them know that we seek allies in the destruction of the throne.
We seek allies in destruction of the throne. I give a look to Ramnet, like, did I do a good job?
I give just thumbs up, completely anachronistically.
Eka pauses for a moment and says, allies against Celiand, I think, is very appealing at this stage. What throne?
The war that these gods are involved in is at the behest of a throne for which they are all competing. They all feel a pull, and I send a ghost miracle down the line of just like a very kind of 4D theater experience of what that pull feels like. Which is why that even some sensible ones might start to struggle and bend under its yoke. We seek to destroy it and end the cycle, which has been repeated previously for aeons.
Again, there's sort of a silence, and Eka comes back and says, I see. Well, our Imperator is not communicative right now, so I can only speak for myself. I am mostly cut off even from my familia, but if you tell me where to find you, I will make my way there with all haste and put myself at your disposal, because clearly we have a common enemy, and you are better apprised of the situation than I.
And we can take care of you as well. We're at the docks of Therit.
I will be there as quickly as I can, then, though I do not know how swiftly I may travel, diminished as I and apparently my god are.
Thank you, and I appreciate you reaching out. I know our last meeting was a little bit hectic.
Yes, well, hectic is right, and I am at my wit's end, so thank you for hearing me out, I suppose. I'll be there as quickly as I'm able.
Safe travel.
And the prayer dies off as conversation dwindles. So to set the scene for our listeners a little more fully outside of Lyssa's head, they are standing sort of in the street just up the hill from Theret's harbor, where a fleet of mostly quite damaged Diamok ships have recently landed, and a very intimidating storm is rapidly closing from the far horizon. In attendance are obviously Ramnet, Leorian, Lissa, but also Tohil and Puff, Imbi and Apatia, Apatia's mother, Onela, and on hand, if not immediately in the scene, is Krios' Tyr, elsewhere in the city. So, that's sort of where we quite literally stand now that we are looking around, in the city once again. Having had this conversation with Ka, I believe that, we sort of left off having done some planning for how we were going to deal with the oncoming storm and conflict, but I had held us off from enacting them right away, so that we could do them this session. So, I leave it in the capable hands of our demigods here. What happens next?
I think perhaps most immediately, I begin to play the drum such that the storm does not arrive. This both will prevent the storm from arriving, but also prevent the journey from reaching its intended point of arrival. So hopefully diminish the power of both Nobilis, who we know are in the picture.
And also maybe give you the chance to move very, very quickly.
That might happen. That rubber band thing has been, watch this be the time that I skip like a stone, disappear over the horizon, and that's how it ends for Leorian.
Looks like Leorian's blasting off again!
But for now, I play at an unnaturally dolorous pace to slow the approach of the storm.
And while it is difficult to visually verify rate of atmospheric movement as it approaches over the water from the horizon, certainly the storm has not arrived as you play, so presumably helping.
Krios lets me know that there has been enacted that decree barring journey from the city. I would like to drop a preservation of truth on it.
Okay. It is a somewhat longer duration than you'd expected when Krios does once again pray to you, only by a few minutes, but of course everything is moving quite rapidly at this point. But what he does say is, all right, your decree has been promulgated and is being circulated throughout the city, but I've also had another messenger come to me, and I thought that his news might interest you. There is some movement as of a great army coming from the south and east.
Are their flags flown? Is it known whose armies they are?
According to the observers on our walls, no flags, no drums, no singing, just a steadily growing, moving mass on the horizon raising dust clouds.
Was it Zalaban who presumably sent the army in search of Fewa forever ago? The rock people. That weren't people, but rock.
You encountered, and yes, it was Zalaban back in Lurenton. You encountered a detachment there of triple digits of the rock people. This is sounding to Ramnet like it is probably closer to
5 or 6 digits. Yeah. I will thank Krios for the information, and depending on the speed at which they are approaching, all will be dealt with in appropriate time.
Yes, well, I certainly hope that you are telling the truth there. I suppose let me know if you have any other whims.
I will keep you apprised, and once we have the time and the space for it, I, as Truth, for that is now among my ambit, would happily explain the why of things.
Well, that's rich, but I'll hold you to that. And he lets the prayer end there. You enact your preservation miracle.
Which I think that's a 5.
Let's see. A lesser preservation is 3. A major preservation is 6.
Okay. For the moment, I'll just drop it at the 3.
Okay.
So that's 1 miracle point.
Yeah. All right. So yes, you've preserved the truth of Croesus's decree that no journeys to the city are allowed. What else are our Nobilis getting up to here?
I think that, some amount of discussion with Tohil of let's make the deep instead the deep earth. And as part of that, we should entrench the harbor of Therit so that it is not swept away by the risen waters.
I know some rock people we could make an excellent trench out of if we could only find a way to connect A to B.
Apatia.
Hmm?
I hate to impose upon you for something that was given as a gift, but if you have 2 flechettes to spare, I think it would be good if we distribute the bloodstone between us as much as possible. Only because we don't know who's going to get close enough to Cillian to land.
She nods and she says, "No, that makes sense." And she reaches into sort of her belt at the small of her back, though it is obscured by her sort of draping and layered sort of pieces of dark cloth that she typically wears nowadays, and she pulls out very sort of gracefully, kind of between fingers on her hand, the 2 of the 3 bloodstone flechettes that you had made and given to her, and she sort of holds them out in front of her at arm's length and says, "To whom should I distribute them?"
I look to Leorian and Romnet.
Only you would know that I nod, given how slowly I'm moving.
Apatia, sort of flips them around, holding them by the points, and offers one to Leorian. And then sort of holds the other one out in Romnet's direction.
I will demur. I'm no good with thrown things.
Apatia nods in understanding and then sort of looks around at the assembled group for who might want one, and after a moment's hesitation, Imbi takes the other and sort of puts it through the back of her belt, and gives sort of a solemn nod.
I will look at all of those with flechettes and say, when you throw, let me know, and I shall make of it a murder.
That's true. I was thinking more of, because I don't know anyone that can throw with the accuracy of Apatia, but if you make of it a murder, I suppose that accuracy doesn't matter.
It's a combination of all of these things, I think.
I look out over the storm with a large sigh. We need to try to save them both. Romulus, Philia.
Yes. There will be a great deal of ambient power if we succeed in destroying betrayal, we should be able, hopefully, to use some of that to take them into the Familia.
And I think we should avoid weakening them further.
To the best of our ability, of course, but the Red Tooth Rite, even enacted by an imperator, has certain rules.
The surf just beyond the ships in the harbor begins to roughen in a way that is not reflective of the weather or the waves coming in from beyond that point. And you see a couple of tails and fins, as well as behemoths beginning to walk out of the water.
NB will need silence. And since it seems like we're running out of time, I think we may have to strike Celiand where it will hurt her the most. I propose we had turned the trail on itself.
Certainly. How would you accomplish this?
Well, by giving her what I felt after she betrayed us with Phewa's death. 1,000-fold times over. What's the natural response to being betrayed?
Outrage. Hurt.
To seek revenge.
Fury.
Fury.
Apatia says, I'm sure that I could also account for some of the other sensations.
Mm-hmm. And I'll need you to do that.
While you are talking, the sort of city guard of Ferret is rushing down to the harbor to combat the behemoths, and you can see that there are groups of mismatched large sea predators working together to capsize boats in the harbor. The siren rays also start to appear, but Imbi staring out over the sea is preventing their song from being heard.
Here's what I would like to do. I would like to inflict Celiand with the rage of every single betrayal that she, or betrayal itself, has ever committed. And I would like to make her go mad with that, as I have done many times before. If she shreds herself to pieces, she'll be an easy target once we lift the seafloor.
Tohil interjects. Apatia gives you a sharp-toothed smile at that, and Tohil interjects and says, I'm certainly happy to be of service, but, well, my domain is not among the most powerful. So if you have any wells of power into which you can successfully let me tap, it would make it much more possible for a large-scale effect on my part, though I will likely not be in a state to do much else once the miracle is complete.
I think we should be able to nettle power based on Lyssa's working in order to fuel ours, as I would happily join myself to you to make a murder of the deep by the
now,
deep
this
earth.
Does present a logistical problem in that Tohil is not part of your familia, and you are not in an advantageous area for fungibly transferring power.
Couldn't you open a conduit?
That is likely to be something that his imperator would need to do, and or your imperator would need to do. His imperator is currently a fennec fox, and yours is currently asleep.
Unless we forget, Tohil is a bat.
Yes. Tohil.
I had not forgotten, but if
how could we forget?
Since we're naming
any listeners have
species.
forgotten, first, if you've forgotten, dear listener, first of all, shame on you in a mild way. But secondly, yes, Tohil is a bat.
Yes. Thank you for including the important part there, Drew.
But yes, there are potential logistical issues in your Familia supplying power to Tohil for this.
We have a cult.
You do.
I say that out loud to Tohil.
He says, "Indeed. Are you in touch with them? Would they be willing to, well, pray or, better yet, make offerings to the deep earth?"
Leorian?
I attempt something I have never attempted before, which is to keep playing the drum while reaching out to Firagi. We'll see if I can pull it off.
I'm going to go with the answer there being yes, but I am also going to make you roll Sense plus Eerie for 6 dice just for fun.
Yeah, I love fun.
Which is to say, how eerie it seems on Firagi's end.
That is a pair of 3s.
All right. So you are playing the drum, as I believe you said, at a dolorous pace.
Rather so, yeah.
So I'm going to approximate, though not accurately represent this. Not least because I can't accurately represent the sound of this type of drum.
I've never looked it up. Mouth. It's rad, but yeah, we don't have one to hand.
So it is. Toom, toom, toom. And then you reach out to Firagi, and I suppose what is it that you are saying to Firagi as you reach out?
I say, we have made an ally of the deep earth, and if the adherents that you've been bringing to bear could make offerings unto the deep earth, we could use it to swallow the deep, and perhaps end this war.
So, Shiragi sort of like starts a little bit when you begin saying this, and then when you finish your statement, there's a pause, and she says, "Wait, I don't think I really caught. What is that sound?"
So I manipulating tempo 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll explain later. The most important thing 4, 5, 6. I can handle this. I'm currently slowing a storm. It's divine stuff. But what I need you to do is channel power to the deep earth. Not perhaps, given that it might form a contradiction to the adherents, to the faithful, as a god, but as a concept that can help set the world aright.
Another pause, and she says, I don't think I quite understand, but it is very loud. People in the town a couple miles away are climbing to the wall. What are you doing?
Me? Well, I'm stop 4, 5, 6. I'm stopping a squall from arriving in Therit, divine by nature.
And that
is that me being that loud?
Makes a thunderous sound? Seems counterintuitive.
Apparently. Yeah, it is. So much of this is 4, 5, 6. I could stop.
Yeah. You, especially given the timing and your access to her senses while you do this, put together that your drum beats are reverberating over the countryside where Firagi is. And she sort of says, well, then never mind. If it's, I suppose it's impressive enough. So you need my...
She can probably feel that I'm pleased with her being impressed, even passingly. This is embarrassing to me. It forms a recursive loop. Please continue.
You need my... Specifically... You need my organization that specifically promotes belief in nothing divine to channel our energies, I guess, toward a divine concept.
Well, yes, but also an extremely earthy concept. The earthiest The earth itself, actually. They don't need to think of it as anything divine. In fact, it's solid through, sort of. I mean, not strictly, but you understand my meaning.
Yeah, she sort of drums her fingers on her chin. She says, "Okay, I think I can work with that. What's the time frame like?"
The sooner the better.
Soon and briefly.
Of course. All right, well, leave me to it, and I suppose you'll know if it works soon enough.
You are incredible and invaluable, and I shall take my leave.
By the time you do so, she is already climbing up on top of a nearby wagon piled with some crates of supplies and beginning to intone to those who can hear her in the area. And then you are back on the ground.
I'm saying another thank you that she probably doesn't hear. And now I'm here. Am I still drumming, or did I lose it at some point in there? Okay.
Yeah. So, Leorian, you are keeping up your drum beat successfully, and presumably Tohil should be receiving some power from your cult if Feragi is successful in the next interval. But attention is drawn fairly immediately to a page running down the hill from the direction of Lud Manor, with a sort of wide-eyed, wild expression on his face. And he sort of gangles to a stop in front of Romnet, looking around and settling on Romnet as probably the person that he was supposed to talk to. And he says, "Your murderiness, Lord Croesus, wanted me to tell you that they've identified the army approaching the city. It's, well, a lot of things. Wolves and bears and birds and other things."
Thank you for letting us know. We will factor that into our plans. Please let Croesus...
Do you think there's snakes? I can't abide snakes.
You will be safe from snakes.
I smile at the page.
He is oblivious. Probably all the better for him.
Yes.
That's a mercy.
But he bobs a bow to Romnet and then catches sight of Onella with her grinning wolf face, goes, "Ah!" and runs.
Well, I guess we found out who got some of Palarin's domains.
Seems likely. Or, if not at the time, then in later collection.
So, as the page is running away, battle has been joined in full at the harbor against those creatures of the sea able to emerge from the surf. The forces of Therit basically are not trying to defend the ships, and larger ones seem okay, but smaller ships and boats are being capsized fairly rapidly and comprehensively in the harbor.
We'll deal with it later.
Wearily cast a lesser creation of fury after just a blink of an eye taking on the aspect of Navia, to turn the creatures of the deep, assuming they still don't have enough Tortos, against themselves to slow their march onto shore and their destruction of the boats.
It seems to take. There's now sort of more of a free-for-all, sort of in the surf and just beyond it. Just as you finish that, you receive a prayer from Kea, who says, "Listen, don't know, I'm sure you're busy. There's snakes and gators and gar in the canals. The gators are coming out. The snakes are coming out. The gar are still in there. People are pretty scared, and I haven't really seen what Arliova's been up to lately, so I'm thinking something may be going on Well, I just wanted you to know.
Get to shelter. Tell everyone to bar the doors against the animals. They are working for Cilliand. And if anything else comes up, let me know, but this should be over soon. Be safe.
Right you are. And then as the prayer sort of cuts off, you hear her go, "No, Thad, get in sight!" And then the prayer is over.
Thad gets to get inside.
No, Thad needs to get inside.
I suppose with everything going on, it's best that we do this sooner rather than later.
Toheel chimes in, "Well, as soon as I have the power for it, I plan to do everything I can to infringe on the Deep's turf."
We can at least occupy Cilliand herself. Alrighty then. Is everyone ready?
Apatia gives you another of her sharp smiles and embellishes it by licking her lips.
Seeing this, quickly thread a arm around her waist and say, "For luck, then," and kiss her.
She doesn't seem to have been expecting it, but does lean in and kind of makes a little noise. And then as you pull away, she goes, "I do feel lucky."
You are my lady luck, even if you don't hear those prayers. So, let's do this. What I would like to do, and you can tell me what to spend and where, but I envision that I'm going to be working in tandem with Apatia, tempo, where it is, necessary, murder as needed.
Yeah, I think I am sort of
holding off.
The icing on the cake, as it were. I am probably...
Murder is an icing, yeah, as the old saying goes.
Murder is a buttercream icing frosting.
Cool.
Murder. This is my my self-help book. You can.
Or isn't more fondant?
Murder can be a fondant.
It really can be.
Yeah.
No, I think murder is unexpected caramel.
I like murder.
My one contribution to this is murder's a pan.
Okay.
Apt.
Very apt.
So you tell me, Lissa, your miracle. What are you doing with Fury?
I am going to be collecting all the rage of betrayal across its existence, funneling it into Cilliand and coupling it with madness. Essentially the Mavia effect, but very specifically applied. I would like to say something to Cilliand before this goes off as a note. But that's my thinking. A very focused Mavia attack that will inflict her with all of the sensation and emotion of betrayal's past, make her go mad with it, and make her start Mavying herself.
So these are creations of both Fury and Madness. Level 4 lesser creations, level 7 major creations, and are you applying any penetration to them?
My goal is to spend all of those 11 miracle points in domain.
Okay.
And allowing others to funnel in power as need be.
Okay.
And I'll ready a nettle as well.
Sure. So, okay, let's see if we can break this down. If you wanted to do a major creation of Fury at level 7, that would be 2 miracle points without any penetration. For Madness, if you wanted to go all the way up to level 7, that would be 5 additional miracle points for a total of 7 miracle points, still with no penetration on either side of that.
That would leave me 4 points of penetration. What do we think?
I can also pour realm into it. Huh? We need a whole bunch of penetration on these.
Right.
Like 5 to 6 points.
And then there's whatever Apatia is willing to contribute as well.
Right.
Well, I mean, she's going to be doing her own creation of sensation. So she's going to be handling her own thing.
My realm miracle points into it.
That would get you 3 more points of penetration. So that'd be a total of 7 points of penetration across 2 miracles.
These are 2 separate miracles, not one and the same with 2 aspects?
Creation of... the domains are even different levels. So, yeah, you have a major creation of fury and a major creation of madness that you could get 4 on one of and 3 on the other of if you tap out your domain and realm.
Can I tap into the local populace of Diamacor has become part of our cult?
Of Diamacor?
Yeah, the folks who arrived.
Okay.
Can I tap into them for any additional power?
Interesting. The answer is yes. Let me make a roll. They have just undergone a very harrowing journey at the hands of your enemies, and also they are, not all of them, but a fair number of them, sort of paired with these sort of ancestral spirits of, like, animal ferocity.
And if it helps, I can do a lesser creation of fury to further rally them against Cillian.
So you are able to get some power from this. So what I'll rule is that if you tap out your domain and your realm and you tap into the Diamacor who are here, you can get both of these major creations to penetration level 5. And have them go simultaneously.
If you want to drop in a further point of penetration, Drew, on one of them, I'll drop in a further point of penetration on the other.
Get them both to 7?
To 6 anyway.
6 each.
Oh, to 6. Okay, that a single point, not 1 point each.
Yeah.
I could drop in more than one.
If you want
it's
to,
more useful for me to do. Yeah,
it may be more useful to conserve my points for when we really do make a murder of this.
For sure.
Yeah.
In my case, though, upping the penetration might be more useful than my just like doing a separate. Like we're turning her idea of a revel on her, right? But that's a little abstract. This is quite direct.
Yeah.
How many points of so I have 9 domain miracle points. They're there for the asking.
Hitting this to 2, like to both of them to such that it's 6. Like we don't know the threshold between.
That's assuming her spirit is 5, which I'm not entirely like. I can't remember how much penetration we have.
I think ties go to attacker, but I can't remember.
So ties do go to attacker, and I'll go ahead and throw this out there in a metagame thing. This may or may not be something that your characters would think of in the framework of, but Vruta did mention a couple times a while back now in our human timeline that the emanations of imperators who had taken on that many shards are akin to Nobilis. If that means that their power scaling is the same, then they would max out at 5 spirit.
Oh,
that makes sense.
I do remember now that you bring that up. That is something we could in fact say.
This is totally a thing the characters would remember.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not surprised in the multiple months that it's been in the real world, we may have forgotten that, but your characters would still be thinking of it, I think.
So...
Okay, so I'm sorry, what penetration are we at for these miracles currently?
She, under her own power, is at 5 each.
5.
Mm-hmm.
And if ties go to attacker...
Correct.
I technically have enough, but I'm also a fan of covering my bases if you're not opposed to just making
I think we go to 6 each.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Yeah, I'll put in 2 of my domain miracle points to get that penetration up there where it needs to be.
All right, so that leaves Lissa with no domain miracle points, no realm miracle points, and Leorian goes down by 1 or 2 domain miracle points from 9 to 7.
I think it's a worthy expenditure of...
Absolutely. No, and that still leaves me with tons of points to run support on Romnet's murders and or do my own various trickery.
Yeah.
Do we want to do more than that? Was my only question. I mean, we're theoretically good.
Well, so those are the 2 miracles that Lissa is doing.
You can also
support Apatia.
Because
the sensation will also be key to making the madness more effective.
So, do we have a sense of how much penetration is on her attack or her miracle?
Well,
we wouldn't think in these terms, right? But can we tell how, like, the brightness of the motion or what have you?
Well, and you can even confer. She is doing a major creation at level 7, and her oomph behind that miracle is, to all appearances, capped by her available power at 3 penetration.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I give her 3 of my domain miracle points.
Okay.
To get that to 6.
Brings it up to 6.
Yeah.
So that's those 3 miracles. I think we had decided that Romnet's contribution of murder was going to wait till later when we were actually able to attack Celia.
Right.
Physically.
I think then, it's partly a question of raising of the deep.
Indeed.
Well, the deep into the deep earth, anyway.
Yeah. Tohil has not.
And I don't think we can directly assist there. Yeah.
Indeed. Tohil's not given an indication at this point that he has received any particular infusions of power from your cult. But given that it is not that long since Leorian spoke to Faragi in-game time, that is perhaps not super surprising. Perhaps not super surprising. If you could, I know you have already done so in the planning stages of this, but Lissa, if you would describe the effects of your creation miracles of fury and madness on your target.
Before I kick off this miracle, I pray to Celiand.
And what do you say?
Tell me, Celiand, to whom do gods pray when they're afraid? First, I send her my fury. Then, I send her all else that betrayal has ever caused. And I weave the madness of it into the miracle. So that she would reprehend herself and her very nature.
Ooh, Adam?
Yes?
I've had an idea.
Okay.
I would like to make this true.
Okay.
Specifically, the madness of it.
Okay.
I would like to enforce the truth of the madness on Celiand.
All right.
And
so what
to
are you thinking?
And to specifically the self-destructive tinge of it.
Okay.
So would that be lesser or greater creation of truth? It is narrow aspect, it is localized, but it's also the emanation of an imperator.
Yeah,
and
those
specific.
Those are pretty specific to gifts, those adjustments to miracle level. So I guess it depends on how much force, authority, immutability you want behind this. You could make it a lesser creation and it would be somewhat more resistible than if it was a major creation, though certainly nothing that would just roll off of her even as a lesser creation.
Would it be harder to notice woven in amongst the rest if it were lesser?
Quite possibly. And of course, you are still on the hook for whatever penetration there, so that may be the strategically sound.
I think that I will keep it a lesser, but I will I will only go 5 points of penetration on it.
Okay, so that's going to be... oops, that's the wrong character sheet. 3 is your domain in truth, so that would be a miracle level of 4, so you need 1 to get it up to 4, and then 5 more for penetration.
Yep, so I will drop realm to 1 in addition to dropping out domain. So I'll be my only remaining miracle, I think, is going to be the murder.
Okay. And Apatia, for her part, weaves her own miracle, and Leorian helps it to penetrate, as well, a major creation of sensation. The effect is difficult to gauge, since Celian does not proximate to you exactly, but she does start to respond to Lissa's prayer, but before a syllable gets out, cuts off. You just hear sort of a and then silence. The immediate evidence of your miracles is very limited, but everyone involved crushes a nettle, and there are a couple of heartbeats, and then you do feel power flow into you from attacking the bonds that Celian has to her estate. I'm going to make a die roll to see what that looks like in terms of amount of power gained.
Ooh. Yay, bringing dice to a diceless system.
You know, guilty. Everybody can distribute... I say everybody who crushed a nettle for this, and had a hand directly in it, can distribute 6 miracle points among their meters.
Would I get any extra for the dual domains at work?
Not really, because I'm kind of doing it as the overall effect of everybody's thing, kind of split between participants. So
nettling all around was wise there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perhaps analogous to splitting the tips at the end of the day.
What can I see through the sight looking in the direction I felt my miracles go?
Not too much, though. You can see the parts of the arrested approach of the storm that are directly expressive of Romulus and Philia sort of glowing in a diffuse kind of way with miraculous energy from a distance. You don't actually have a read on Celian particularly from where you are here.
Actually, Adam.
Yep.
I take that back. I'm going to do another miracle.
Okay.
I'm going to murder all of Celian's tools that do not have an auctoritas. And I am going to nettle them because she is a betrayer who uses tools.
Okay. So,
greater creation of murder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put any penetration on it because that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be 2.
If I may.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I would focus on, if you have a limited range, focus on that which is between us and her.
Adam, with a greater creation of murder, do I have a limited range?
Give me the wording of your intent again, if you would. Like, how are you
I am
trying
going to murder
this?
I am going to murder Celian's tools.
Okay. You are pretty sure that a major creation here is not going to have global effect, but it, from where you are here in Ferret, would have an effect in the harbor and approaching the city, probably not all the way to Fermata.
Okay. Well, sorry, Kaya. But yeah, that's going to be 4 miracle points, yeah?
So you have murder at 4. Major creation with no penetration would be 3 miracle points.
3. Lovely.
Yeah.
And I will nettle as well, assuming she has a connection to her tools.
So you sort of focus for a moment and release this miracle into the world, and in the space of a couple breaths, the harbor goes from sort of frothing with ships being turned over and combat happening to the wet slaps and thuds of various sea or amphibious creatures collapsing where they are, falling from the air, sinking under the waves.
Do I reach as far as the approaching armies?
You can detect that. Yeah, you do. And huge swaths of animals just collapse, or in the case, I guess, of the snakes, go limp. Where they are, birds fall from the sky, and just pile up in the plains approaching Ferret. There is sort of an uncanny quiet as you crush the nettle, and you basically get, well, I've started the thing, why not roll for it? You get refunded the points that you used on it.
Oh, hot damn. That is honestly better than I expected, so that's lovely.
Yeah. It appears that Celian did not have the strongest tie, but you did do quite a magnitude of blunt destructive force.
Yeah.
After a beat or two, you start hearing kind of ragged cheering from the folks who are engaged in fighting the creatures coming up out of the surf. And, there's kind of a quiet moment where everyone sort of stares at the shoreline. You have a moment or two if you wish to do anything or plan anything before anything in particular happens external to your group here.
I think we should strike while the iron is hot.
Absolutely.
It's time to bury the deep earth deeper and undeep the deep.
Tohil says, "Yes, I'm standing by to do just that.
I can lend some fury if you need."
He gives a incongruously human chuckle that his what's the word, chiropteran features cannot quite match the sound of, and he says, "Worry not, fury I have in spades."
If it is possible to shield Ferret from the effects of any waves, that may be useful.
I'm not sure how much use my estate can be there, but I can try.
A simple raising of a wall of deep earth as part of it may.
He says, "Yes, I can certainly try, but, well, raising the surface is on the edge of my portfolio, as it were."
Fair.
And then he sort of straightens up a little bit, which is an extremely cute gesture on a bat. And he...
I will have Croesus order folks back from the harbor.
Okay. You send along a terse but clear message about that, and you see
but very polite.
To move around.
Always polite with Croesus, even if he's a bastard.
Yeah.
Are there tutelary spirits? So, I'm assuming... I can't believe I'm...
When Robin says I'm assuming and then erupts into laughter, something good's about to happen.
It's also just, I love how we keep coming back, inevitably in this campaign, to the tutelary spirits of blank.
I would like to enrage the tides near, or the water near, not to create any sort of tidal thing, but to reject the bodies that have congregated there onto the shore as a barricade of flesh. Sandbags. Sea snacks turn sandbags.
Sea snacks turn sandbags? What the hell?
That was the best poem I've heard in quite some time.
So as the forces of Therit draw back from the harbor, Lissa uses a small series of similar lesser creations to have the harbor sort of haul, while we're at it, the floating corpses as well as some of the capsized boats up onto the base of the harbor as sort of a sandbag or a sea break. It's not,
perfect.
Yeah, it is done by surf, kind of piecemeal, but it is undeniably better than nothing for the purpose you intend it for, if not for any other purpose.
It'll make it easier to clean up later.
Yeah. And not a lot of rotting body smell later on. I'm just thinking ahead here.
Work smarter.
I don't know that this will result in any diminishment of rotting body smell.
It makes it easier to address as opposed to random body bloated floating in the ocean.
It removes the collection step.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, dear listener, to the way we think about problems.
We do not have a tie-in DLC with Viscera cleanup detail, but we do welcome inquiries.
That'll be fun. It's sort of like, Lawn Mowing Simulator did a Dino Safari DLC, and the escalation from mowing like gardens in the UK to mowing like the Triassic jungle is, I think, similar to the step up from cleaning up after the Doom guy to cleaning up after this crew of demigods.
It would be ambitious. I don't deny this.
I picture the poor guy in coveralls with like a bucket and a mop looking at a city harbor full of like shark and whale corpses. Just being like,
we're gonna need a bigger power wash.
I might be hungry later. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Wow.
I love sushi.
Very fresh.
Yeah, very, very fresh.
Although, given our prior discussion of sea urchin, fresh doesn't always mean palatable.
I don't think any of them are urchins. I think they're within my...
No, all of the urchins are out of the water.
Yeah, you pay a lot for the really fatty part of the Leviathan belly, but in my experience, it's worth every penny.
The flap flaps are slightly chewy, but oddly satisfying.
Should we continue?
Haven't we done enough?
Listener, if you're hearing this part, then I apologize.
I don't.
Yeah.
So Lissa encourages the sea to eject its detritus into a sea break of sorts on the harbor, and At about that point, Toheel sort of straightens up, flaps his way up to the eave of the nearby roof, and announces, "Well, it looks like your cult has managed it. It is a rivulet rather than a cascade, but I think it might just get the job done." And he spreads his wings facing the ocean, and there is a beat. Puff makes a little yip noise, and sits down sort of on the step of a nearby warehouse. And then there is, you were kind of expecting a rumble from this, given what's involved, but it actually happens as a, well, very loud, very far away, intimidatingly forceful crack. You can actually see out beyond sort of the coastal shelf a sort of like plume of water misting up, and at this point that seems to have some kind of effect on the storm that Leorian is still playing his drum to stall. It's about as dark as storms get, but it begins to swirl more rapidly and violently, and sort of unnaturally lightning begins to flash kind of constantly and all throughout the clouds.
I advise you, friends, make yourself faster than lightning.
Are you just saying that to the folks on the street?
I'm saying that to the Nobilis around me. The folks on the street can't make themselves faster than lightning.
I meant the
I suspect
Nobilis
there are relatively
in the area.
few.
Yeah,
hopefully
everyone's sheltered.
Yeah, everybody else has fled uphill.
Oh, good. Okay.
Or is in the process of doing so.
A brief burst of quite extreme speed is probably something I could manage.
Toheel gives a slightly awkward but very earnest bow that turns into him sort of swooping steeply down off the roof and back onto the sidewalk. As the mist near the horizon settles from where the water sort of popped up, you can see that the horizon is higher and traveling this way. Leorian, you are beginning to feel like a rubber band being stretched to its breaking point, though you probably don't have that specific analogy to hand in character, given that I don't believe that rubber is a feature of life in Taraxis.
I've just invented rubber, but also I may be near the limit of my ability to hold back the storm, so if we require something to happen quite quickly, soon would be a good time to require that.
Our arrival at Celian seems to be a logical thing.
I mean, you
first
don't know where she is.
Oh, I thought the site she was diffused near the other two.
That was Rimulus and Philia's influence.
Oh.
Apologies for the lack of clarity.
Okay. Well, could I do a divination to see where all that fury just went?
That's actually a pretty clever idea. Let's see. You are a furious queen, so it won't actually cost you anything to do a major divination to get a specific answer. And so looking into it, you divine where all of the fury you created just went, and you're facing out to sea, expecting it from that direction. But in fact, it takes no time at all for you to realize that it is in the direction of Fermata.
I relay this to everyone.
Toheel spreads his wings and says, I suppose we should aim to relocate then.
I will take Leorian's hand and say now is the time for moving quickly.
I'll take his other hand and grab. We'll just create a whole human chain.
Yeah.
Anyone who wants to link up.
Everyone should probably have a hand on a shoulder or something, as well as linked
Not a bad
hands.
idea.
I miss that gentle holding as an option, and I'm assuming it's a pay shot. I just end up gripping them like I'm about ready to hold on to them on a roller coaster and be the only thing preventing them from flying off.
So everybody makes a point to touch. Leorian somehow. Imbi confers very quickly with Onella, and Onella stays behind. So once everybody has a hand or a paw or a claw on Leorian, the drumbeat stops and things kind of click into, depending on which side of the experience you're on, fast or slow motion, as Leorian sort of dashes everybody into Boar. I believe there had previously been discussion of leaving Puff in Boar for its protection. So if that carries through, then we sort of divest the party of Puff in Boar, and then where
still in fast motion, I offer Puff a hand to sniff. And still in fast motion, if I get a favorable response, I provide a small scritch before we zoop out.
Since it is in fast motion, you offer a hand to sniff, scritch, and move out in about the time that it takes Puff to register that you are doing anything. And then, where in relation to Fermata would you like to exit Boar, ideally?
Through the doors of the manifestation.
Is that your Leorian preference?
It's a suggestion.
Sure.
No, it's a fine suggestion. If no one has a better idea, that seems like the best one we've got. We've got to march up to the gates, so we do so with all due unnatural haste.
So you deposit your party on the steps of the manifestation, facing out to the plaza. It is kind of eerie how vacant it is, but you can see and hear sort of just at the edge of the plaza where the canals are, sort of the movement and even thrashing of the aquatic and amphibious animals in and around it. In fact, you can see a couple of alligators lounging on the canal side of the plaza, looking kind of grumpy, as alligators on land often do. The combination of the canopy and the time of day gives you a sort of gloaming light throughout the plaza. And otherwise, there's very little to observe from where you are currently. Now, Leorian, you do not stop moving in fast motion just because you have arrived. You are still in bullet time, basically.
Honestly, this seems ideal if you have a flechette.
I think we did hand me one earlier, did we not?
We did.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Well, now since we've arrived.
That is completely unintelligible to anybody who can hear it. It basically sounds like, nope.
I say it with great excitement, and I make deep eye contact while I make it. It's gonna be like this for a while.
Yeah.
I smile and nod. Of course.
I might even be like brandishing a flechette when I say
it. Because I'm Mavia, that comes across a bit more unsettling than it's intended, but you still get a
the Mavia equivalent thereof.
Yeah.
Experientially, Leorian, the is like 10 minutes after you initially said that.
Etc.
Yeah, we don't have to reenact it, but thank you for
That's the next 10 minutes. That does not sound unreal.
Well, it has to modulate very slowly. There is a tempo to it.
There is. It's that Arvo Pärt piece with the big wind instrument on a hill that plays like a note every 10 minutes or something. It's that, basically.
Better that than bagpipes.
Better that than bagpipes. It's a good name for a memoir, actually. Do we have a more exact location now that we're in Fermata? Or would that be another divination?
I can ping for it as, again, like within a radius of 6 feet, or more, approximately 6 feet. Where did all that fury go?
Let's see. How does it read? It is suffusing this area, but also it has a point of sort of like most resonance. Sort of a little ways, call it like 2:00 from the steps of the manifestation, maybe halfway between there and the edge of the city in that direction.
I start heading in the direction towards where it is most resonant.
Mm-hmm.
And I ping, kind of like someone obsessively using the Eagle Vision in Assassin's Creed.
I will divine of murder. Is someone trying to create a chancel here?
Interesting. As a divination of murder, that comes back kind of inconclusive. There have been murders here. But
I swat them. They are done. They are over. They will not continue.
Okay. Yeah. Easy enough. So you are moving with your accustomed sort of uncannily loping gait in the direction of the sort of focal point of fury that you had detected. And
spectacular. Per Des in the comments.
Leorian has trouble not racing ahead of you, but everybody else has trouble keeping up with you.
I think Leorian is just a probabilistic cloud at the moment.
More or less.
More or less. Yeah, let's say I'm circling the group sometimes. That isn't quite to my satisfaction. Vampire survivorsing around in case of danger. Sometimes I'm walking forward but performing tight circles of my own. The effect is probably pretty weird, but I don't have much of a choice.
You create eddies of wind, I suspect.
I
likely.
Think yeah, likely. At this rate, in approximately 10 minutes, Mavia, you arrive at the door to a large but not particularly expensively appointed abode, and sort of throw open the door.
Oh, that's hinges.
Indeed. It goes bouncing into the entryway, and the entryway is open sort of through arches into various spaces in which there are Fermatans, the ones who are still entirely human in aspect, not perhaps all of them, but exclusively the still human looking Fermatans, standing and sitting and sort of freezing in whatever they were doing. And through the arch ahead of you on the other side of the room sits Adeliova, who to Mavia's eyes has something of a serpentine aspect to her currently, though to other observers she continues her oscillating visage, I guess we should call it.
How does she look in the sight?
She looks like a Nobilis with a moderate spirit.
How does she look like as a divination of truth?
Ooh, that's fun.
Just lesser.
Lesser divination of truth, no penetration?
Yeah.
Okay. This is not a common roll in even the system we have that has dice, but roll sense for me, 5 dice.
Just flat sense?
Just flat sense.
3 6s.
Yes.
Allow me to increment the counter. Looking at Adaliova with a divination of truth, I would like you to describe let's start with describe the person that Romnet would find most superlatively beautiful out of all possible people.
I mean, the problem with this is that on the one hand, it's whoever has my attention at the moment. On the other hand, it's Dusk. On the third hand, because we have many hands here, it is a matter of personal qualia rather than physical attributes.
Mm-hmm.
And on the fourth hand, I know that this is not that person, which may operate to undermine the whole thing.
Certainly. So, using more than just the sense of sight, but also sort of dreamlike noetic knowledge,
mm-hmm.
What would you be beholding if you were beholding maybe not the only, but a perfect example of beauty in Romnet's?
Sure. I mean, the most
estimation.
concrete that comes to mind is Dusk, but not in sketch.
You see sort of an idealized version of Dusk as he was as a mortal, with sort of a piercing gaze toward you and a gentle smile, holding a large cup of steaming coffee, looking ever so slightly disheveled, but sort of artfully so. But here's the thing. You aren't actually looking at a person that looks that way. You are looking at a statue of Dusk in that posture, where Adaliova stands on the other side of that arch.
So the whole thing with beauty is that it's whatever's on the pedestal.
As you take this in, Adaliova, well, her attention is drawn to the dramatic entrance that Mavia has made, and the people surrounding her. And Adaliova sort of straightens and smiles, but not. It's the smile of somebody who is about to get to release their temper. To Romnet's divination vision currently, this looks like the statue sort of between one frame and another changing posture to reflect this until the miracle sort of wears off, at which point, you go back to seeing Adaliova the way you usually would.
Is this, can I do another divination of fury and see?
Also, you had mentioned approximately what spirit she has?
I believe I said moderate. And Robin, you were saying?
Can I do another divination of fury and see if this is where the miracle ended up, or where the miracle went?
So, that's an interesting question. This is a focal point of the fury that you created with your miracle. But it is not perhaps the destination per se. A node might perhaps be the way to put it.
Where does moderate compare to my own brightness?
Very, very close. Almost, I'll say imprecisely equivalent.
Okay. I'm going to offer a lesser creation of truth that is also a murder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put 3 points of penetration on each.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to reveal beauty as, well, an illusion. It is self-undermining.
Okay.
And I'm going to nettle.
So, the combination here is... and
lesser creation of truth.
that beauty is an illusion with 3 penetration, and then also a lesser creation of murder.
By that mean, these are functionally going off at same time as same action.
Right. And then a lesser creation of murder with 3 penetration based on that action. Okay. Let's see. So that's going to be 5 miracle points from Domain?
Yep.
All right. And Adeliova opens her mouth to speak, and then you aim these miracles in her direction, and
I'll just sort of wave a hand at her as the action of it.
Excellent. Yeah, you wave a hand in her direction, and like smoke, her appearance dissipates. No mortal sees anything in particular, but the nobles among the onlookers see, for just a moment, a handsome older woman with dark brown hair streaked with gray and a prominent nose that seems to have been broken maybe more than once, and sort of very striking gray eyes, looking kind of startled. But after a moment, where Adeliova stood, there comes to be nothing. Nettling, you, let's say, receive 2 domain miracle points.
Cool. Fuel for the next murder.
There is a silence that echoes in the way that some silences do throughout the building, as the Fermatans who look around, who were looking at Adeliova, now turn to look at you all. And one by one, those who are not seated sort of sit down, looking a little stunned. Mavia, in your divination sense, the focal point of fury here disappears, but the fury remains, and you start to perceive a less concentrated point of its origin back the way that you came.
I head that way.
So Mavia, as you pinpoint this sort of less concentrated point of radiation of fury where your miracle was directed and turn to pursue it, we'll end our session. Everybody can have 1 mortal and 1 divine XP, though it may not do most of us much good. We will see.
It may not at that, but I'll accept it gladly, even so.
This and the next episode will have been recorded at once for our listeners at home, so keep that in mind. But for the purposes of keeping these, divided sensibly, that concludes this session of Dice Punks. Thanks for joining us. I hope our players and listeners enjoyed it as much as I did and are looking forward to the latter half of this recording session as much as I am, and that you'll join us again next time. If you're hearing us now, you probably know where to listen to us, but we can be found almost any place one can listen to podcasts, as well as on the web at dicepunks.com and on Twitter, probably by now co-host and Tumblr as at dicepunks. And with that, I think we're ready to say farewell. So say goodbye to the kind folks at home, players.
Thanks for listening, and join us next time for the thrilling conclusion to the thrilling conclusion.
Thanks for listening, everyone. As the old saying goes, what goes around comes around, including for betrayal.
Thanks for listening, folks, and, well, let your truths murder your beauties.
And as the poet once said, say your prayers, 'cause everyone will notice and everyone will care. Fall asleep, 'cause sleeping was for angels, and angels never cared. Let freedom ring like the church bells and the choir that never made a sound. No one could see the lightning that's connecting the storm cloud to the ground. You'll never make it alive. Thank you for tuning in to part 1 of the finale to Nightfall. Stick around through the admin stuff for an appropriately unhinged Adam's ad. Since what you just heard was the first part of a marathon, nearly 12-hour recording session we did to bring Nightfall to a close, there won't be a Dice Peaks for this episode by itself. The next episode will hit the feed as soon as life allows Joanne and I to get it edited, and it will be followed by a standalone retrospective episode in the main feed. Then it'll be on to new territory. I have more to say about the conclusion of this first long campaign in the next admin blurb, so for now, forward to the credits. The songs in this episode, Theme of the Dice Punks in its acoustic version, were written and recorded by the Viscount of Tempo and his element, Drew. Cover art and editing was done by Joanne, who has appeared on the podcast now and again. Check out her work around the internet where she goes by Anything Sows. Site design and graphics for DicePunks.com are by Robin, the player behind Lissa and Mavia, the Nobilis of Fury, Madness, and the Forge. Rain and the one-roll engine it runs on were created by Greg Stolze, whose work can be found at gregstolze.com. Nobilis was created by Jenna Caterin Moran and can be found at afarinsunlessland.wordpress.com. Links to both systems and authors can be found on the Punk Grimoire section of our website, dicepunks.com. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, that's reward enough on its own, but if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon, patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord, and access to the Dice Peaks After Show for episodes 1 and following. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until the thrilling conclusion, remember, subtlety is for cowards. At one point or another, on an especially lonely night, with only the darkness around us and the twinkling in the heavens above to accompany our thoughts, we've all looked up at the night sky and asked ourselves the same question. Amid all the vast, endless emptiness of the cosmos and the uncounted, unknowable eons that even the youngest star has seen, how do they cope? We mortals can barely keep it together for a century, surrounded by a dense ecosystem of other life forms like us. So how are the stars and planets and moons and comets and asteroids and dwarf planets and pulsars and black holes and all the rest supposed to manage an effective eternity, separated from even their nearest neighbors by hundreds of thousands of miles of absolute frigid emptiness? Can we even properly comprehend the problems faced by entities so far above us, that shine so much brighter than we mere mortals? How do they handle it all? Well, cosmic entities don't have to do it alone, and now neither do you. Sayor Knight, that's NYTE, psychic to the literal stars, is now offering their services to terrestrial beings as well, and at very reasonable rates. Sayor Knight has millennia of experience reading coronas, radiation signatures, eclipses, gravity wells, and more. Having an excess of sunspots in recent cosmic months, perhaps the local mortals are in retrograde, or the noosphere is in the house of Alpha Centaurians. Either way, Sayor Knight can help you diagnose and solve the problem with their boundless insight in the influence that biological life across the universe has on cosmic entities. And hey, if you're part of that biological life, Sayor Knight's services can help you too, by situating your issues in their proper context. All of existence. Because it turns out that as one of billions of your type of organism, which is in turn only one of billions of types of organism, you don't actually have any issues. So get in touch with Sayor Knight and make an appointment sometime in the next 10,000, 10 million Earth years for a free consultation and find out just how incredibly insignificant everything you're dealing with is, directly from Sayor Knight, psychic to the literal stars.